Okay, Goliath put out a news release this week. Look, they've had a lot of research done around the SureBet system, and this is part of the the Gold Digger project that they have up in the Golden Triangle in British Columbia. SureBet is a very, very large gold system. As they drill more and more, they're just finding it. It keeps expanding, and they're starting to find higher grades. But last year in particular, they found a very clear, I would call it definitive evidence that the system, the gold system, is actually related to an intrusion, so a magmatic event that brought the gold up, and the gold seems to be very closely tied to that particular event. This is interesting. Okay, go to the next slide. Now, I'm not going to read through all these. This is part of the news release. I'd urge everybody that has a long time on the weekend to read through this and try to digest the dissertation that's here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and just highlight a few things. First of all, this study that was done by the Colorado School of Mines was all encompassing. They basically reviewed all the drilling and all the data that's been generated by Goliath. So it is all encompassing, very thorough work. I know the folks that did it. High grade mineralization. Yeah, we know about the classic SureBet style veins, these very broad, thick veins that are relatively flat lying. But now we see a very, very compelling evidence that you have gold that's associated with magmatic dikes that have come up through as well, which are high angle. Okay, so now we have two targets basically. So the shear hosted zones that we know good and well, and now we have these stockwork zones within the dikes that are also apparently high grade and have that direct magmatic connection. Okay, yes, there are stacked veins here. We've now found a lot of different veins. They quote 12 different veins that they found. Many are very high grade. In fact, last year they started to really focus in, find that high grade core to the system, particularly around the Bonanza lode. And I think we're going to see the company focus like a laser on drilling up that high grade this year. Go to the next slide. Okay, now this gets into the world of esoteric. Okay, but anybody that's a geologist in BC knows that the deposits in the Golden Triangle typically fall within a certain range of ages. Okay, and those are back in the 100+ million year range. Okay, I'll just say they're older. Okay, well, this work that was done by these folks at School of Mines actually dated the mineralization, and what they're finding is the gold in this case at SureBet is actually related to a much, much younger magmatic event. It's dated at 50.7 million years. It's what we call Eocene in age. Why is that important? Well, this is really the first definitive evidence that you have an Eocene mineralization event occurring within the Golden Triangle. It's really taken the blinders off a lot of people's eyes, and now they're thinking, wait a minute, you have this here? Maybe there's more of these. I think, it got me to thinking when I saw this data, even SK mining, the high grade that was found late last year at the south end of the property, those veins apparently are very closely tied to an intrusion down there. So I've talked to the guys that we're going to have do field work out there and collect samples. I want to see if that's an Eocene intrusion. Okay, maybe this juggernaut thing that they've discovered, maybe that's an Eocene intrusion. There's a whole world of new thought going into this. Okay, I'm going to spare you the rest, but basically, this data says that we have a new beast in the Golden Triangle, and people may rethink how they explore even based on this work. Very good analysis. Good.